Good afternoon. I may have a little difficulty with this as my voice is not at all what I like. Also, I'm going to operate without notes. I'm going to try and cover some other aspects of high school. I think probably by now, if you're not bored, you're close. And but at least I hope I've managed to set the background for that period in my life and that period historically. I left off last session with talking about some pranks, and I had intended to expand that. I don't think I really will when I look back and think how juvenile that period was, and what we were trying to accomplish. It's pretty meaningless. But on the other hand, it was part of who I was and what I did. One of the other pranks I was going to mention, as far as the harassment of young ladies, was, besides the use of the skull, we had, in one occasion, learned about another meeting of the group at a different house, and somewhere along the line we knew somebody had made a celebration cake or something to that effect. Anyway, they had a big cake. And so we investigated, and we found that on the back porch, screen porch, they had set the cake out for later in the evening. Well, one of the things that we had accomplished in our thinking was, if such an occasion arose, how would we deal with it? Well, one of our friends, Marcus, father, was a druggist, and he carried all kinds of, everyday drugs, but he also carried supply of veterinarian type drugs. So Marcus was able to obtain a laxity powder for large animals. Well, that would be cattle and horses and whatnot. And so we mixed a batch, got some syringes, and were able to fill the cake pretty much. Well, of course, it was a liquid by then, and we were successful on all that. We never were apprehended. The only thing about this story is I don't know how it ends. And I think that was because the girls were really getting wise to us, and they didn't say a word. So to this day, I have no idea whether we had great results, little results, or no results. It remains a mystery. It could very well be that they just simply didn't eat the cake. It probably tasted terrible. Anyway, I think that's enough of that kind of thing. I thought I might mention briefly hypnosis. And that was one of our more scientific adventures. We got some books and whatnot to learn how to do hypnosis. And we studied these, in this case, in Jim Burt's home. We kind of set up headquarters, and we undertook the science of hypnotizing. Well, we weren't really very successful. And, you know, there's some theory that if you don't want to be hypnotized, you can't be, which may or may not be the case, but I certainly was fearful of it. Whereas Paul undertook a study of self-hypnosis, which he proceeded with, and actually had some remarkable results. This particular era didn't last very long, but it was the closest thing we ever did to anything halfway meaningful or scientific, probably in our entire high school years. One of the other things I had been going to mention had been alcohol. We were notorious drinkers at that age. I'm not particularly proud of that, but that's the bottom line. We were. And one of the things that we did do with our great organizational abilities, it was to organize what we called the Keg Club. We had a membership that was equally set between boys and girls. We had, in theory, regular meeting times, places, and parties. We also went to great lengths, great pains, to write a charter. And this was written in chemistry, along with a lot of other things we did. And we, when we were finished with it, we all signed off on the glorious document. And then we didn't know what to do with it, so we, for permanent historical purposes and future generational use, we stuffed it down between the two of the chemical desks. Now, they were permanent desks. They were built permanently, and they, of course, they contained a lot hot and cold water and sink and so on. So they were there to stay. And it's my understanding that they did until the year that they tore the high school down, which has not been all that many years ago. Now, whether the document survived, whether anybody even noticed it, is, you know, another mystery of history. But I covered motorcycles to a certain degree. And I don't remember without going back just how much I put into it about drinking. But we being in this case Paul and I, whenever February rolled around and the streets were had cleared off enough so that you could stop a motorcycle, we took off in the evenings. And at that time, our current fad was a bottle of peppermint schnapps, and away we went, cruising the main drag, as all teenagers did, still do, probably will for an eternity. It seems to be a way to express your coming of age. Needless to say, that was not a good combination. However, I can report that there were no serious difficulties with it. The downside is that to this day, peppermint schnapps and I don't agree with each other. So you can tell the level to which we studied the product. Girls were on my list to mention. It was an interesting time. There was, for most of us, we did not, quote, go steady. We had girlfriends, and we had, a more serious type. But in those days, the sport jacket with the letters, the number of years you'd lettered in high school on a leather jacket was the big thing. And of course, girls that were, quote, going steady were given those to wear. And so you could always kind of tell if you were invading somebody else's territory. I can't say that it was a great... I enjoyed it. But I was, for the most part, pretty terrified of girls. I had no tutoring. I had no teacher to explain to me the ups and downs and ins and outs of romance and what all it entailed. And of course, you had no comprehension of really what it was like to take a female's point of view and have understanding from where they were coming from. I'm watching this clock and it's ticking down, and I think it's about time to move from high school to college. I think you get the picture. High school was easy for me. Grades were more than adequate, not brilliant. I enjoyed math. I enjoyed physics and chemistry. Paul and I studied, actually we studied well. And we could whip out assignments in no time and get back to the serious things in life, which was being a teenager. And so at any event, I'm now ready for college. I just know I'm going to go to college. I don't particularly know why. I don't have any goals. I don't have any ambitions, significantly anyway. For me, most everything interested me, still does. So it was I was headed for the biggest shock of my life, and of course the biggest turning point and the biggest thrill in my life when I encountered real academics. So we'll pick that up on the next session. So till then, carpe diem.